welcome to Universal Interiors. I am Uni Fegley.
And I'm Leslie Inglestead.
Today, we are excited to talk about husband and wife. You know what, though? Some people out there are either divorced,
Right.
Had your spouse pass. So this really, rather than saying husband and wife, we could almost say this is like some laws to relationship.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. When we were, when you were introducing it, I was like, you know what, it just could be a relational law. I
Yeah.
mean, some things we might be speaking about may, just pertain to the husband-wife relationship, but it can be absolutely across the board because it is just kind of a respect thing.
Right.
I think.
I heard our pastor teach one time about everybody, I don't care who you are, needs to have a lightning rod friend where you can go to one specific person and be like, here, I need to lay it down. So if you don't have a spouse or maybe it's your kids, maybe this is going to be a employee-employer relationship.
Yep, absolutely.
Because guess what? A really successful employer will respect his employee, and if he wants good work, they want good workers.
Yeah, and it would be both ways.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody had said, well, the Bible talks about slavery, and that's, were they pro, con, whatever. And it's just like, it's really a relationship. You could almost look at some of you that don't love your job. Maybe you feel that there's a slavery involved there, but you still have that, You're an employee or employer, and that's the kind of thing. So across the way, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
And in that relationship building, I think that you constantly have to kind of examine yourself, because more times than not, it's really easy to just start finger pointing at, be it your friend, your husband, your employer. You're so sure that they need to do the change, and that's just a recipe for failure right there.
Right.
We just kind of have to take a little self-exam, figure out what it is that we need changing, I think.
In my case, I'm talking husband and wife because that's my story. And a story I think of my husband was just, we were talking about this not too long ago, and he was telling me, who is, do I call you the leader of our family, or do I call you the boss, and then who am I and who do we play? So we were talking about this, and he made a very interesting point. He said, if I'm sitting there saying ladies first, and you're saying, well, you're the head of the house, you go first, he said, we just basically sit and walk in a circle, and nobody gets anything done.
Right.
That was really cool to me too, because then it's more of a team. Or we just had an issue where one of our kids, I'll protect my children, one of our children were having some issues, and I'm like, well, you figure out what we're going to do. What are we going to tell her? And he was like, no way, you are not getting off the hook. You get over here, and we're going to
put it together as a team, right?
Sometimes you want to just be,
take over,
lazy and just be like, I'm at my wit's end. I don't have a clue what to do.
Right.
But you're a team.
Yep, and if you can get that, and relationships are so important to stay together. And when you are in this busy world that we live in, it's just hard because one of you feels like that person really should have more time with the kids, or they don't have as much to do as me. Or, you can put it in a lot of things, or as an employer, you're just kind of looking at this like, I've kind of told them this is the list. They should just stick with it, and then I'll be happy. Like, you kind of draw the line like that's the thing, but really the successful relationship is when you put each other basically in a partnership. You still have respect, you still have a reverence for one another, and not lording one over the other. I think that's just a super important part. But like getting to my little thought is a husband and wife, only because I'm looking at this as the other day, learning this statement that the Bible talks a few different places, many places actually, about relationships, but definitely zeroes in on the husband and wife. In the book of Ephesians you'll find it, in the book of 1 Peter you'll find it, and it's so interesting because it is a love and respect. It is, women, you got to respect them. You might not understand them, but you got to respect them. And then women are gifted the fact that we're told, our husbands are told, love them. Love them. And that seems like a simple thing for us girls because we just kind of come out and we can love a little, pretty easy to understand love, isn't it? But I find it almost a way of God's humor because he basically writes down a big old paragraph for us wives and women actually, in girls, you can follow this, and in men, it's just like a statement or two, just real short. And that's just because us women, what are we good at? We're good at talk. We got to kind of explain ourselves. We got to kind of see it out, that picture. And men just want the short, tell it like it is, few lines, fewer words, the better, right? So, I mean, God is so wise in the way he presents it to us.
Yeah.
And if we can, definitely, we're good at visiting, but our husbands would love it if we did a little bit less and listened a little bit more. And that's probably true of employers too, for that matter.
Well, I'm even thinking about, okay, let's just talk about relationship. It is a law, just like law of gravity, opposites attract.
Right.
It's like a basic law. So whether you are husband and wife,
Yep.
I find most of my friends,
Yeah.
their husbands are completely opposite of them.
Right.
And if that's what happens with relationships, your closest friends are going to be the kind where if you're the same, then you're kind of like
Yeah, you're going to hit
gnawing.
kind of
Or-
magnety, kind of like repelling,
Right.
even though that's
Or-
a good point.
Yeah, or like even like sister to sister. I have a sister who, we were just talking the other day and she was like making goals and I said, well, I don't care if we don't make it or not. We'll just do our best. And she said, I cannot believe, don't you ever feel competitive? And I'm like, no, that's probably why me and you work together so well because you win, you're winning. And
Yeah.
she's like, well, I don't win if you just hand it over to me. So,
But it
just-
is, and it's just what draws out the healthy things, I think,
Yeah.
is what, and that's a really, really sweet way to look at it for sure. I believe that too.
A lot of times I feel like husbands and wives can give up, and I feel like this is probably for someone watching, is we're always changing, and
That's
if
such a
you
good point to remember.
if you are in a relationship and you're just ready to give it up and throw it away because they've done so much changing and we've changed and I've changed so much, and
You do hear that a lot.
yeah, and guess what? We are always changing.
So just hold on.
And get over some of your. I think our biggest victories
Yes.
are when we just work on ourselves and make sure that
Yep.
we are getting.
Just challenging yourself in that sort of thing. I mean, there's just so many, getting out, like you were saying, opposites attract, or the relationships out there. If you have that go-to guy, and if you don't, find one. I mean, you really can. I mean, obviously, Eunice and I stand strong in our best friend being the Lord. And we go and we just get rid of it and can leave it sometimes. Sometimes we want to fix it. But I heard a really cool statement the other day, and it's a best friend is one who brings out the best in you. So you can have many best friends out there. You can maybe just have one, or maybe you feel you don't even have that best friend. There again, challenge. In the Word, there's so much about relationships and so much about loving yourself. And I think that's the biggest thing. Whether you're a parent and you think, how in the world am I going to get through this because my kid just doesn't seem to listen or understand or get me. You know what? Step back. Believe that you are capable of getting through. And the same way if it's a mom, sometimes, it's just so many relationships out there. But
Yeah.
just call up the best in you and find yourself a best friend that brings out the best in you.
Right.
And
And to even be submissive sometimes to me, if I submit something to me rather than looking at being submissive as yes sir, yes sir, yes sir.
Right.
It's like being submissive is to submit an idea.
more of an honor too. I mean,
Yeah. So people hear the word submissive and they say right away, no, I'm not that old-fashioned type that just lets my husband boss me around. Well, guess what? I want to honor, like you're saying, honor my husband, but I also want it's just a beautiful circle.
yeah. And it doesn't have to be that down and out. It's best side by side. And God's really
it's the
designed us
best.
that way. Really has.
I know.
It's so fun to get a chance to visit with y'all. Thanks so much for listening today.
Have a good day.
Be encouraged. Thanks.